loves, it's Dr. Simone Ellis, and I want to spend some time talking to you today about leadership mindset in the area of dentistry. A lot of times when dentists graduate, they believe, okay, because I have my diploma, that I am supposed to lead people. And the problem with that is that leadership is something that you develop over time. It's something that you invest your time, energy, and effort learning. And remember, all leaders are not great leaders. And so what we want to do is we want to spend time really focusing on becoming the best leaders. Because when we have the best leadership in our career, we have the best people working around us, we're uplifting the community. We have a lot of people that are happy about what we're doing, and you feel better about yourself. So let's talk about some things that could really help set you apart and really help develop your leadership. First thing that I think is a no-brainer, that you have to be surrounded by other amazing doctors. It helps because you don't feel like you're in an island on your own, and you can learn so much from your colleagues. So what mastermind groups are you a part of? What conferences are you going to? Who is a part of your community that you connect with on a weekly or monthly basis in your industry that are the thought leaders in that industry? I'm fortunate enough to have some really amazing doctors that surround me, and I'm inspired by them often. I learn from them. We discuss ideas. We collaborate on things. And why I believe that that's really helped me be successful is when I don't feel like I'm on the island on my own, right? So if I'm going through a struggle and I don't know how to fix a problem, I'm blessed enough to have other doctors around to discuss that issue. The thing that I want to tell you to be aware of, though, is make sure you're not comparing yourself to others, especially if they're extremely successful or they're steps above. Because one of the things I love being in the room with is doctors that are doing better than me, because I'm inspired by them. I can learn from them. If I'm the smartest person in the room, I have accomplished the most in the room, that's probably a room I don't need to be in because I can't grow in that room. And I'm genuinely happy when I see other people thriving and doing things that are great. And what I know for sure is that comparison, if you're comparing other people's steps to your steps, what you'll realize is that that's very, very hard. It becomes really uncomfortable, and you can get depressed behind that. Remember, we don't know all the ins and outs that go on to other people's successes, what they've done, how they've gotten there. But what we can be a part of a community that will discuss those things, that will help us get to the next level, and that it's important for us to also pay it forward to the next group of people, right? So make sure you're surrounded by great individuals, people who are cutting edge, people who are above the trends, people who are really leading our industry. Because when you're in those circles, when you're in those rooms, you're consistently being held to the carpet of, hey, I'm going to be a better leader because the people that I'm around are already great leaders. And that's one thing that I think is so important. The next thing that I think is important with leadership mindset is for doctors to be patient as well as kind to themselves. It's unfortunate, but dentistry is very stressful. And I think that a lot of times doctors take it way too seriously. What I mean by that is that you are human. Mistakes happen. Things will always go according to plan. That's everybody's story. And there are days you're going to have amazing days, and there's days where you're going to be like, why am I a dentist? How am I a dentist? How did I even get here? My biggest advice to you is to be kind to yourself, be patient with yourself. When I have doctors that are working with me, I talk to them about, hey, they're like, well, how have you been able to do this? And And I'm like, I'm 14 years in the game. The doctor that's 24 years in the game is doing something that I could only imagine doing. But there was a period in my life where when I got out of dental school, I wish that I could do this case. And then once I got to that case, I wish I could do this case. So being patient with yourself and understanding that you become competent over time, but you're kind to yourself. Docs, we've got to love on ourselves a lot more. We've got to start eliminating that stress. We've got to pour more into ourselves, because we pour a lot into others. And so I really want to help doctors realize that, hey, it's a lot, but being patient and kind with yourself is so critical to your success. And that's a great leader. A great leader is understanding that it takes time to be great. A great leader understands that it's going to take time for their team to be great. And they're realistic about their goals. Sometimes when you're so close to something, you can't really see how it's working out. Like when I think about pulling teeth, sometimes if I get frustrated with a tooth and it's not really luxating the way that I need it to, what I do is I step out the room, I take a breather, and then I go back in. And a lot of times when I do that, I'm amazed at how easily the tooth came out. And what it is that I have a new, fresh set of eyes. You know, when you're dealing with leadership, when you're dealing with your business in general, you cannot be so focused by working just only in it. You've got to be able to work on it. And that brings me to my next point. Leadership mindset, or people who are leaders, understand that you have to block your time and you have to have protected time, right? So I have days that I call planning days, implementation days, and metric meeting days or metric monitoring days. So let me talk a little bit about the planning days. The planning days, what they do is they help me to plan out any ideas that I have coming. So if I want a customer appreciation event, what I'm going to do is I'm going to plan it on that day. If I have a photo shoot and I want a visual that I wanted to get seen for social media, I plan that out. So planning days are specifically to plan out things so that you're not rushing, right? When you're trying to, I see too many doctors trying to plan and implement the same day. Now, implementation day is exactly that. You're executing the ideas of your planning day. So if you're properly spending time on your planning days, your implementation days are pretty seamless because it's everything that you planned out, you're just executing. And your metric monitoring days are basically when you're getting a chance to look at your numbers. You're understanding your metrics and seeing what needs to be altered or changed. And so I recommend doctors, if you guys don't have planning or implementation days, start off with having 2 planning days a month and 2 implementation days a month and 1 metric monitoring days. And as a free good, we've included a calendar for you to take a look at and get an idea of what a proper looking planning and implementation day is. If you're nervous about that, oh, I don't have time to plan, what I encourage you to think about is this. Imagine if you planned out your months a quarter before, how much more successful you would be as opposed to trying to do it the same day. I promise you, it saved me so much time, energy, and effort once I shift that mindset into, okay, I can't just be working in the business. I've got to work on the business. And in order for me to work on the business, I've got to plan out my days a lot better than I was. So I encourage you to download this free good and actually put into your calendar start off with just 2 planning days, and then start off with 2 implementation days. What I would recommend doing is alternating weeks. So have 1 week of a planning day, let's say that's on a Monday, and then maybe you have an implementation day on a Thursday. If you're really uncomfortable with taking off a whole entire day, then start off with a half day and start off with having an idea of what you would like to plan. So for people who are always like, I don't have time to do social media, block off at least 3 hours and say, okay, let me actually explore what I would like my social media page to look like, or what videos do I need to capture this week so that I have on my implementation day, I can actually work on editing the videos, putting together my stories or my reels, whatever the case may be. The take-home message is this: you've got to block off the time and you've got to have planning and implementation days to build yourself to another level of success. And my last piece of advice is recognizing that small steps will lead you towards success. A lot of times I think we get overwhelmed on the journey and we don't think about that doing the small things right every single day, they build up. And what they build up to is an ultimate level of success. Think about it from the perspective of taking your diet as an example and actually working out small changes every day. By the time you look up in the month's time, you've made progress. Dentistry is very much so like that. When you're thinking about leadership, maybe the first step is learning how to communicate with your team. Spending 5 to 10 minutes with your teammates to understand who they are, not just as employees, but actually as people. Now, as doctors, sometimes we walk the fine line of being professional versus personal. My recommendation would be is that sometimes it is hard to, not blur the lines. So I encourage you to try to keep the conversations light, but really try to genuinely get to know the people that you're working with. Because what happens is that you're better able to serve them. And I think leadership is really just that. Leadership is being able to be of service. I look at so many of the great leaders in the world, and how they showcase themselves or how their legacy is shown in this life is through loving on people, but it's caring for people, it's getting to know people. And so when you're thinking about leadership, it's not a dictatorship. We know leaders like that. What great leaders have been able to do is empower a group of people to move towards a common goal. I encourage you as a dentist to make that a part of your life's work, as a part of your legacy. And when you're surrounded by amazing doctors that are doing the same, it makes it really easy for you to live up to that standard. So guys, I hope this video helps. Make sure you're sharing this information or liking or following our page. And I look forward to seeing you back for some of our other classes, or if you're a part of our mentorship or membership club, I look forward to talking to you there.